Spectrovision Radio.
This transmission is coming to you from the Belief Hole podcast.
If you're listening to this right now, you know the world is full of encounters with the unexplained.
It was just a shadow of a man standing at the edge of my bed.
True terrifying tales submitted by listeners like you.
The next thing I know, there were two long metal rods coming at my head.
Large triangle-shaped something.
It was so freaky.
It looked like it was coming closer, like out of the forest.
I thought to myself, what on earth?
I do remember that bright light.
It looked at least 7-8 feet tall.
This thing staring at me.
I remember thinking to myself, what the hell is going on?
This thing was blacker than black.
Weird chanting.
Halfway through, it had stood up on its hind legs and walked the rest of the way.
So join us on the Belief Hole podcast as we shine a light into the dark and explore the bizarre phenomena behind some of the strangest encounters you've never heard.
Picture this: a curve in the road, a change in plans. Well, what do you say? With the all-new Audi Q3, the answer's always yes. Yes to adventure. Yes to escape. Yes to performance. Yes to comfort. Yes to right now. Because saying yes without hesitation, that's real luxury. The all-new Audi Q3, made for the yes life.
Kayak gets my flight, hotel, and rental car right, so I can tune out travel advice that's just plain wrong.
Bro, Skycoin. Way better than points.
Never fly during a Scorpio full moon.
Just tell the manager you'll sue. Instant room upgrade.
Stop taking bad travel advice. Start comparing hundreds of sites with Kayak and get your trip right.
Bad advice? You talking to me?
Kayak. Got that right.
Spectrovision Radio.
Telemetry in launch condition.
Well, some other observers.
Hey, it's late night.
It's late night on the astral plane, where it's never too late. With your host, Brian Singer.
It's more fun to believe.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for another voyage of Late Night on the Astral Plane. It is my distinct pleasure today to have Nikoo Bafti joining me. Now, Nikoo would not refer to herself as a mystic or anything like that, but I will do the job of letting you know, an artist, a visual artist who leans into intuition, to the mystical, to the esoteric, has done work in association with the Philosophical Research Society, has the deck, the Transmutation Oracle Deck, which was released in conjunction with them. And I believe the astrologer, remind me her name.
Laura Hayes.
Laura Hayes. Just an incredible, incredible Oracle deck that I think we're going to probably see a card. So if you're not watching the podcast on Spotify, I suggest you do that. Just put aside for an hour the fact that the guy who runs Spotify is one of the many devils running around the world. And then you can watch the video of this. But so we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the journey as an artist, the transmutation itself that took place within you as an artist, I believe could be an interesting conversation in the culmination of this deck. As out, so within, or something like that. Maybe we'll call it. But thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Ryan. It's a pleasure.
It's the pleasure's all mine, and I think everyone's really going to enjoy this conversation. I mean, there's something to me about the confluence of art and the mystical and the paranormal, the supernatural, in creativity that I think go hand in hand and they're intertwined. And, you
Yeah.
know, try as we might to separate them, I think it's an impossible task. But it's no mistake that when people lean into their creativity, I feel like they are tapping into something outside of themselves. Would you
100%.
would you agree with that? Yeah. So I'm curious if the journey was so clear for you starting out, or, you know, were you a weird kid?
Of course, yeah, totally weird kid. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know. How early are we talking about the journey starting? I guess.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, whenever you want to pinpoint it, or whatever chapter you want to start at, we can start there.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think for a multitude of reasons, I kind of, you know, and it didn't bother me so much, but you know, I had this sense of kind of almost otherness in a lot of situations that I was with and that I was, you know, kind of in. I grew up between England and Kuwait, of all places, little country in the Swana region. And yeah, I'm originally from Iran. So, you know, already I'm an immigrant and, you know, there's everything that comes with that. But then I, you know, moved when I was 6 and I went to this completely new place and, you know, the Middle East and it's, you know, and, you know, all of that was great. But, and it's not like I had any particular issues or anything like that. But like, I think just fundamentally in so many ways, I think I got used to this kind of concept of being outside, kind of, I don't know, systems, groups, you know, and I was always questioning, you know, things to do with the divine and whatnot. I remember kind of having to go into like religious studies classes when I moved to Kuwait after being in England. And, you know, my parents weren't religious or anything, but because on paper I'm Iranian, they put me in the Islamic studies class that just all the Middle Eastern kids have to take. And you know, I remember being absolutely horrified because I think one of the first lessons was a classic. I mean, this is across all religions, like that kind of the story of like the hellfire and how intense the hellfire is and how like, you know, you burn for all eternity. I remember, I'm never gonna forget. I was like 7 years old and this teacher is like, when you go to hell, all yeah, you know, your skin all burns off.
When you go to hell, by the
way.
If
you go to hell, yes.
Yeah. Not if, but like when you go to hell, which you certainly will be.
Yes, we're all headed one way. Yeah, no, when you go to hell, your skin burns off and then it grows back so that it can burn off all over again for all of eternity. You know, so it's just, it's, you know, I had an active imagination, so that obviously horrified me. And bless them, my parents managed to get me out of that class because I just came back and I was like, what is this? But, you know, I've always been fascinated with how people interpret the other worlds, like what's beyond our physical realm. You know, I had a brush with all sorts of kind of looking into when I was younger, you know, looking into different, you know, ways that expresses itself. You know, I had my rebellious phase where I, you know, just for a hot second, I was like, I'm an atheist, you know, when I was a teenager, but that kind of soon changed because it just didn't feel right. It never felt right to me. But, you know, organized religion never felt right to me either. But as I grew older, as I kind of found my own, what felt true to me, what I kind of started reading more and, you know, finding my way, I realized that, yes, actually, there's this vast beyond. And I think that where we trip up is when we try to define it, like really specifically. And I think that the beauty of it really is in, you know, the way you approach it completely changes your experience. And also, like, we are all different. Certain things will resonate for me that won't resonate for you, and vice versa. So yeah, I think that living with that lens has kind of just bled into everything I do. So yeah, I don't know. Does that make any sense? I feel like I meandered quite a bit there.
Well, no, I mean that's exactly what we're hoping happens here on the medium of a podcast, where I feel like I kind of went. Speaking of, you know,
oh yeah, you're
outside,
out of focus.
I went blurry somehow. I don't know.
Blurry.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix this camera. This is weird.
Let's get right up close.
Well, I'm not going to be that worried about it.
Okay.
But because what you're talking about is something very interesting to me because I've been, hyper fascinated, obsessed with liminal space for years and years now. And, or just, as we might call it, being in the in between. You're talking about being on the outside. And to me, that is, a similar but different, I think, sensation,
Sure.
I would have to
Yeah.
guess. I mean,
Yeah.
as a white boy who grew up in Southern Ohio, I always felt distinctly in the middle of it all.
Sure.
But not stuck in an ambiguous middle space. But I guess being part of, being part of the whole bowl of soup, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so, but the liminal space there is it's like a different place for maybe someone who's already feels like they have a comfortable foothold in whatever they're in, and they just kind of like then they have mystical experiences, supernatural, paranormal, etc., and it takes them to a different place they're not familiar with, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is something that maybe you could speak about, also experiencing, but in addition to the influence of the outside feeling and the search for something, it sounds like you were describing to me. And I mean, as someone who grew up in Catholic school, the hellfire, the skin melting, like all
Yeah.
that is it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny how all these things are so different, but this exactly the same.
Absolutely.
And it's just so funny to me. But
Yeah.
when it comes to like getting into the visual expression of what it is that you're experiencing, that starts also at a young age, I'm guessing, to a certain
Yeah.
degree, and
Yeah.
and obviously transforms over time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I feel like my artistic output anyway, um, it was kind of, I mean, I'll never forget one of my college professors saying that it's like your whole thing is existential angst. It's like, oh, I never put it that way, but I
Doesn't
guess
it
you're right.
doesn't it sweet burn when someone from the outside just pretty much nails
Yes.
you in a sentence?
Absolutely.
Oh my
And
God.
you know what? I look back at the early stages of my, career as an artist and my development as an artist. Because, obviously you don't have a career right off the bat. It kind of takes quite a while to take hold. But I look at my art like all the way up to just recently. I'm gonna say around until around 2020, all the way up to that point, like it's almost like my work was kind of, it felt a bit disembodied. It felt like I was kind of, like you say, searching, seeking, and the things that would come out of me were not so considered or not, I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe, but there was a lot of figures hanging in space kind of thing, just like a lot of figurative work. But nothing kind of quite defined. I feel like I hadn't found, this is quite typical for most creatives. You haven't found your voice yet. But I will say that the moment that I started to lean in more to my spiritual practice, my magical practice, and kind of merge those two things, like not intentionally, honestly, to begin with, it kind of just ended up happening. COVID happened, 2020 happened. In the UK, we were in like, we had lockdown for much longer than here in the States. So yeah, there was a sense of I just, I really isolated myself. Like, again, don't recommend that to people, but in the long run, that really did something for me. I kind of just went completely inward. And then the thing that kept me going just generally in life as we were all spiraling, and I was like, isolated, was my leaning into spirituality and trying to open my perception up more than just beyond the physical and kind of treat. I mean, this is something that I imagine psychologists and whatnot will call like, magical thinking in a negative term. But I kind of, I was in this moment where I felt kind of like I was floating in like this, existential angst soup, if you want to. And then but what was bringing me out of it, and what was like actually moving both my work and my sense of self into a much more solid ground, was this kind of leaning into reading the symbols that the world speaks in. I really believe, fundamentally, it was around that time that I also kind of got really into like consciousness studies and like things like the holographic model of reality. And, I think like, is it Thomas Campbell? I think you've spoken about him
Or
before.
Joseph
The guy,
Campbell and
no, Joseph Campbell's the myths guy,
oh,
but I've
okay.
I've recently, my left toe, that guy, the theory of
Oh,
everything kind of guy. I mean, I don't know so much about him, so don't quote me, but it's kind of it's the concept that, consciousness is fundamental and everything else kind of bleeds out from that, and that we have way more impact on our reality than we like, realize. And through that kind of moment of completely breaking down, dissolving, and then clinging on to reading the symbols around me when I would go on a walk, or I would like, actually my walks were the thing that kind of anchored me. And I just felt like I was being spoken to. And more often than not, these little things I would find in my path, or, symbols that would reoccur, very often would point into a direction for both my personal life and for my work. So yeah, I feel like the more I kind of got into looking at the world that way, the more, and letting go of any preconceived notions of what's happening and what's not happening, but just kind of really accepting that, we live, you know, kind of, if you look at the world that way, anything's possible, and it's all just so strange, and it's wonderful, to just kind of lean into it. Yeah. So that's if that
well,
makes
I
any
mean,
sense.
it does, and it's a fascinating journey, and it's not one everyone's willing to take. And I'm not saying that in a good way or a bad way for people, but when it comes to noticing the signs,
Mm.
first of all, you have to be open to the fact that we have to take a step backwards and be like, that there could even be a thing as a sign, right?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
And even before that, there has to be some kind of stumbling into or seeking out to the idea, just the general concept of signs. But yeah, so I mean, it's fascinating to lean into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, because in school, I actually really loved the sciences. You'd think, if you look at me now, that I was this complete wooey child, but I actually, I got down with the science. I love physics. I
got
physics.
down with the
Like, I find
sciences.
But I mean, so if you said to me, I don't know, let's say 10 years ago, if you start talking about signs and stuff like that, I don't know how seriously I would have taken you. So like, I understand the resistance around it, because especially since so many of us have been so conditioned into this physical materialist paradigm, of course that's going to sound crazy. But if you look, but like, what was happening for me then was that, okay, if say, there's the theoretical physics behind things like the holographic model of your reality, says that there is a underlying unified field that connects all of us, and that the whole, like, all parts are in the whole is in the one part. I can't mixing it up. But yeah, it suggests that, okay, there's this, we are literally, if we really want to simplify it, there is enough, for me, evidence to show that there is some underlying connectivity in our reality. And that time and time again in consciousness studies and research into ESP and whatnot, you can see that your consciousness can have an impact on the world around you. So if that is the case, which I had gotten to that point where I'm like, okay, I've seen and read enough to be like, this is super convincing for me. Then if that's the case, then of course, like, sure, there's going to be ripples of things that are important to you. Like you say, your higher self could be telling you, could be someone outside of you. I do believe that, we have our, spirit soul families and whatnot. I don't claim to know what's going on like that. I have no idea. But ultimately, I do think that, these things I've seen and read enough and felt enough to know that there's something else happening. So the freedom that it gave me, kind of like approaching it from these kind of maybe more like slightly more kind of grounded, methods of looking at these things. It gave me the permission to lean in fully. And also, I understand that I was in a unique position that I was this this artist that kind of is already a little bit like, weary of modern society and all that. So like it just gave me the extra permission to kind of let go, become this kind of complete kook for a minute and isolate myself completely, go on my walks and talk to trees. And honestly, it completely rearranged me internally, and it really kind of came out in my work. So yeah. Yeah, I can
a
say that was
reconfiguration.
really absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, through belief and experience. I mean, it's interesting too, because some of the things you're touching on to me are so poignant about, and I try not to begrudge anybody or be upset about when people are, as we call it, super grounded in the material world or in the materialism. Sure. And I suppose it could be easily argued that it served its purpose for a long time when it comes to the evolution of humans and quite frankly, the explosion of human population that we've experienced over the last, 500 years, 1,000 years. It's kind of astounding. I mean, we bunny rabbits look at us and they're like, "Oh, you're humping like people, right?" I mean, like we're like, "Oh, you're humping like rabbits." It's like, no, rabbits are looking at us and being like, "Don't bring us into this. You guys are the real problem here."
Right?
And I'm not over here being like,
sick.
Yeah. I'm not over here being like, we need to do population control, or any of that kind of like New World Order type stuff. But
sure,
the domination. And human beings we always take things too far, I suppose. And the domination and the materialism and the viewpoint of individuality and survival, we blast that to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And what you have is, the negative effects of climate change, the destruction of our environment, and
absolutely,
separateness and boundaries and borders and otherness and things like that. But
absolutely.
We got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to keep kind of going into this discussion because I think, one of the largest benefits of artwork to me is the reflection of self and the reflection of society, and also, the predictive nature of artwork and how it can show us our best selves in the future. And whether it's artwork like you do, or whether it's The Simpsons predicting everything that's ever happened, or things like that. So, which I think speaks to the connectivity of all things. So we're going to be right back with Nikoo. We're going to be talking more about this. Just a reminder, patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month. Get you no commercials. Wouldn't that be grand? And thank you to all the patrons already over there. You are appreciated. So we're going to be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, I've got Nikoo Bafti here with me, and we're discussing, why capitalism is the worst thing that's ever happened to the human species, amongst other things. But I will say that capitalism has, I mean, not everything is completely bad or completely good, I guess. Well, I shouldn't say everything, but some things are. But, the ability for artists to seek, I guess, free expression and total expression in a way, and kind of go their own way and kind of figure it out on their own. It could be in some ways aided by, the individual mentality of capitalism.
Sure.
I do think we probably get to a much better place in the future of humanity, and I do believe it's inevitable, where I think artwork could even, and artistic vision and finding your voice, which is a big thing in comedy as well, could be actually aided and a much easier process when there's a
Yeah.
community involved.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is something I'm quite, I mean, quite recently very passionate about kind of spreading to other people is one thing that I found through that process that I was just talking about, like finding my own voice. Because we, like you say, we all do it, all creative types. We kind of wrestle with, oh, this stuff, this work that I'm making is too similar to XYZ, and, but without even realizing a lot of the times, and then you'll go back and say like, oh, damn, like, but that's what you need to kind of do. It's a, you kind of need to do that. You need those stages. But what I will say is, I mean, one thing that time really gave to me was like I said, I mentioned the freedom that it gave me to kind of completely let go of needing to be a normal person in society doing normal things and kind of being, again, in this really unique time where everyone was kind of cooped up at home and everything was up on, upside down and whatnot. But the freedom it gave me, and what ended up happening is like, a few things kind of impacted my artwork. And one of the things that ended up happening around that time was I got way less precious about my sketchbooks. That sounds like really menial, but I remember, and I know that a lot of creatives do this, or let's say you're a writer or whatever, like, this applies to a lot of people. It's like you you kind of don't even want, like, that you're just but you're overthinking it. You're just overthinking it. You get the creative block and whatnot. I can safely say I've not had creative blocks since all of that turnaround, because what ended up happening was like I just let go of the attachment to the outcome. Just like in magic, when they say that that's the way that you make things happen, doing it in creativity really has a really positive impact on your practice, because what ends up happening is like when you loosen up, this is the main thing I'll say, it's like you have to loosen up. That's, you have to let go of how you want it to be, or the false idea that it's going to be good right off the bat, like, and what I would recommend to creatives is kind of create a place, and by place it could be literally a new sketchbook. Create a place where it really doesn't matter to, like, no one's going to see it. It's your private, it doesn't have to look good. And just, I mean, for me, what I got into the habit of doing, and that has now kind of really become really a solid part of my practice, was I would kind of, I was getting into I was meditating much more. I don't as much as I should anymore, but the shoulds, hang over us. So I'm gonna try and be nice to myself. But yeah, like I was meditating more back then, and I would meditate for a bit, and I would, it's so, for me, my setting is crucial. I think, I mean, later I analyze all of this, and this is all ritual, right? Like I would light a candle, I would light my, like, do my incense, I'd get into the zone, like, and it was so, for me that was important, but others still won't be so precious about stuff like that. But yeah, I'd get really kind of just quiet the mind. It sounds so on the nose, but it really is like you'd get really into that kind of, I won't say trance state, but the closer to that you can get, the better. Like almost sleepy. Sometimes I would do this. It'd be nighttime, and I'd I just take my pencil, and I would just start filling pages. I'd just be like, don't think about it. I'd listen to my podcasts, and I would just kind of go, 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 go. And I just fill pages in a way that I never had in my life before. That was not something that I did. What I would do previously to this is I would take one page in my sketchbook, and I'd do all this like really detailed drawing, and I'd like fuss over it. And then like for a month, maybe I'd work on that one page on and off. I'd come back, and what ended up happening is I'd have a half finished, kind of good enough to maybe show online, kind of on my social media or whatever, like, but it wasn't advanced, like, it was just a completely different ballgame. But as soon as I don't know what happened, something just flipped. As soon as I did, like, that other style of kind of deep diving, the like my productivity went up, a lot of it was trash that was coming out, but what I would do at the end is I'd get like a colored pencil and I'd go back through the pages and put little red dots next to like the sketches that felt like they had something behind them. And I can see now, I mean, that is what like David Lynch talks about, like catching the big fish. He really did go into trance. Like he'd do his transcendental meditation every day, and he'd go in, like that's where he says he got his best ideas. And I really believe that. Like I feel like I experienced it accidentally in these moments. And yeah, once I realized that there really is something to it, I try to incorporate it as much as possible into my actual practice.
I mean, that's really cool. And I'm glad you brought up David Lynch. I mean, that's, one of my all-time faves. Give me a second. My light went out. I'm gonna try to plug in a backup light.
Yeah, go for it.
I just noticed it just kind of happened while we were talking. Let me see if this works.
No, you're good. I love that tree. What a tree. I don't think I realized that it was such a
the tree of
lovely
life.
Tree. Fantastic. We love the tree of life.
Let's see here. Okay, that should be better.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
There you go.
It's not the blue I like. Or the aqua, but it's fine. It's much better now. Okay, so I mean, I really enjoy the idea of not being so precious. I think in comedy we have a phrase for this, and it's called "you got to stop caring."
Yeah.
And you have to, and people are like, "What do you mean you got to stop caring?" Like when you're a young comic, someone told me that, and I'm like, "I got to stop caring," but this is the thing I care about.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Obviously, you don't care enough, man.
Yeah, that's your problem, man. But it's, but it is that thing of just kind of, the release of, I think too many times we're trying to, or early on, especially before we can really lean into our voice if we find it. And it still happens to me, and I'm sure it happens to other people, but the idea of we're viewing our output and our creativity through maybe a degree or two away from actually what our vision is. And we're like, oh, how is this going to be perceived?
Yeah.
How are people going to take this? Or do people like this? Or will people hate this? And then I think that you got to stop caring part or stop being so precious is the idea, like you said, people talk about the flow state and all these other kinds of things, but getting in the groove and whatever it takes. And I think it's different for everybody, and you got to kind of
absolutely.
And you really, there's no book how to get into the creative state every time guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
I like the idea of you walking too, like you were talking about, and because it took me years to realize, walking can be meditation.
100%. I cannot stress this enough. Because I'm in the States now, I'm currently in Portland. The one thing that really does strike me about being here is how it's not so necessarily always so easy to just go on a walk, depending on where you are, because obviously, towns were designed to isolate us and get us in our cars and whatnot. But yeah, it's I can really feel actually the like it's missing, from in my life like that. I used to be able to, even if it's just going to the shop and whatnot, in London and Berlin where I was recently, you hop out, you walk to somewhere and you're back, and it's just, for me, genuinely, again, since around that 2020 time, like I realized just how much this would transform my mental state and my energy and all of that. Of course, if you can do it in nature, fantastic. But I know we're not all privileged enough to have that around us. But if you do have it, and I still forget. I know how much it helps me, and I still forget to go just take a walk, because it 100%, I really notice that it is like meditation. Your state changes. It's like, you go in one way and then you come back and my body feels different. My mind is clearer. Like I don't have that franticness around me. Like that repetitive kind of movement of walking it totally is meditative. Think about when, you're a baby in your mom's tummy, right? Like the heartbeat. I mean, I think that's a bit quicker, obviously, but I think as humans, drumming is like one of the most ancient ways to kind of get into trance and all that kind of thing. That repetitive kind of beat, I think even when it's in walking, it can have just this transformative effect on your mental state and your energetic state. So yeah, no, I'm big walker, big on walking.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the drumming and the heartbeat. Wow, I've never really thought about that connection. That's really fascinating because, I mean, if
Yeah,
anyone's ever gone to like an energy healer or a
yeah,
shamanic Reiki healer or something like that, the drum is usually a big part of it.
yeah,
And it's intense when it happens.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
really cool. It's a little overwhelming maybe the first couple times, but at least for me
Mm-hmm.
it was. But
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting too, this disconnection of togetherness and community that we can feel isolated in things. I'm curious, and it's probably a worldwide thing because of the way the world is, but I feel like when you ever hear someone go, "Oh, I love people watching," I feel like what they're really saying is, "Oh, I desire to be around other people," um,
Yeah.
and I know that's not a real cool, fun, sexy thing to say necessarily. So I'll couch it in the idea of and judging them,
Yes.
right? But meanwhile, that energy of the larger community, and it is, I mean, I think everybody would agree that to some degree, people watching is fun, right? Sometimes, especially
Absolutely.
like if you go to Venice Boardwalk out here in California,
Yes.
the people
Okay.
watching
Yeah.
is exceptional.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you're one of them being watched.
Yeah.
So it's a participatory thing to a certain degree, but
100%.
it's
Yeah.
also community, right? And
Yeah.
it's being out and about.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of like owning a house somewhere that's like on a downtown strip.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and just being able to sit on your front porch, have a cup of coffee, and people are going to the thrift stores, the record stores, things like that.
Yeah.
To me, that's a really cool. And also being able to get to nature really quick. My last place I lived, I could get to the mountains. It was just under a mile of a walk,
Oh, what a
and
treat.
it was exceptional.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now
That's
I got to go about 2 miles. And
okay.
I can still kind of do it here where I live
Yeah.
now, but it's needed and it is deeply meditative.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. I'll
when
I'll give you a final quote, sorry,
oh
from
no, yeah.
I think it was Werner Herzog said this. He's like, the world reveals itself to those on foot. And I really believe that. I mean,
Oh
I
wow.
think that ties into the what I was talking about, the like, the symbols speaking back to you. I really invite everybody listening, like, if Werner Herzog said it. I think we can trust that there's something to it. He's a big walker. But yeah, no, I really believe that. It really stuck with me when he said that. It's like, I really have experienced just when you go for a walk and you try, maybe don't even listen to a podcast. You can listen to music. I mean, do what you want to do, obviously, ultimately. But just open your perception a little bit. Like, look, ask questions and see if you get answers. That's kind of something I invite people to really do. I know it sounds wild and wooey, but we're with wild and wooey people, so why do
Yeah,
I
and that's
worry
what
about
this yeah, it's woo woo wild ones are welcome here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in fact encouraged. Yeah, it is. I'm trying to remember the name of the documentary I just watched of his that I didn't even know was real. It's when he was in Antarctica.
I know the one you're talking about,
It's
but I
something
haven't
about
seen
like
it
at the end
either.
of the world or stories at the end of the world or
Yeah,
something it's called.
yeah.
And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, what am I watching? And it's just like Werner Herzog and like a camera guy just going around being like, hey, can I talk to you?
Yeah.
And just I had no idea these people that were down there.
Yeah.
They're all just a bunch of weirdos who ended up down there.
Okay. I
And
have to see this.
it's like, wait, what? And this one woman, he's got to like cut her off, and then he has to do like a summation because the crazy life she's lived, like being
That's
smuggled in like
brilliant.
pipes in the back of a truck from across like the country of Mexico or something. It's just insane. But
Sure.
anyway, the idea of being able to walk is really a great gift,
Yeah, it
and
really is.
I think I wonder, like, when it comes to the ideas of inspiration and and thoughtfulness that leads to, further deep diving, ultimately there's a spark or something happens, right? There's like your imagination is clapping at you and like, and it kind of like jolts you to pick up the pencil, or or sometimes do you, like you said, like when you're in the sketchbook and you just keep writing and some of it's trash. It reminds me of one of my good buddies, Tommy Johnigan, a brilliant comedian who's, does a lot of television writing now. He would write every day, and it inspired me many, many years ago to try to do the same. And he's like, most of what you write is going to be garbage, but the good news is you never have to write that again.
Yeah.
You got it out.
Great way of saying it.
You took the trash out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a really fun way to look at it.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I love that.
So for you, are you just kind of going in with a blank canvas sometimes and just doing it and seeing what happens? Or I'm sure it's a mixture of different things, but.
It totally is a mixture. It depends on what project I'm working on, of course. But, up until, it's funny because I usually, if I'm doing a canvas painting, I will kind of take some time to, what I'll start off with that process. I'll kind of get my sketchbook out. There's no bad ideas. And I'll just kind of get into the I don't know, the kind of almost mindless groove of just sketching and sketching and sketching. And I try and go as quickly as possible. I kind of feel like the more, like I said about the being precious about it, it's not a necessity. Again, truly, everybody is different, especially when it comes to your creativity and how you express yourself. But I find that kind of, loosening up, speeding things up, I'll just, okay, so if I want to do a series of paintings on canvas or something, what I'll do is, I'll just do that. I'll kind of have a couple of sessions where, I've got my incense lit and, zoning in, dark, listening to specific albums that really get me in the zone. And then at the end of it, I'll kind of go through and I'll be like, okay, yeah, this really speaks to me. Oh, I'm noticing that there's this reoccurring element that I'm drawing in a lot of the other kind of ideas. Like maybe I need to take this element and make sure it's a central element in this painting, whatever. And then once I kind of collect the best bits, I'll try and put them together into something that's a little bit more precious. I'll kind of draw it out in my, just as a draft, and then I'll put it on, I'll draw it on the canvas. And again, I'm not too precious about everything being exact. So I like to leave room for, accidents or, just things that kind of come through at the time, that I want to add into a painting when I'm painting. But then very recently, last year when I was doing my residency in Berlin, I had more space than I'd ever had in my life to kind of paint. And I've been wanting to paint big for so long because I've been doing these like tiny Persian miniature style paintings, like with like the tiny details, which I love doing. And it was very much kind of a nod to my heritage and whatnot, but I had this urge to kind of get out, like I want to paint big. So I just got like a 2 by 2 meter bit of canvas roll, and I didn't plan it. This time I did not plan it. I believe you're obsessed with portals too. So like, but this was a big oil painting of a portal, and it was just before I went. I had just gotten the studio, and I put this canvas roll up on the wall, and I didn't even draw it out. I was just like, I know that I want to do a scene in a forest, and I know that I am urged to draw a portal. And then a week later, I was going on a trip with our mutual friend, Jim Perry, of Euphomet, to Austria. Matthew Jackson was there too. And yeah, we did this wild, really interesting kind of projects that's still, it's gonna come out at some point. But yeah, it was this incredible time in this place that is kind of a giant portal, in my opinion, like, just a really magical place. And I had, aside from doing that and going on that trip, it was a moment in my life where things were shifting a lot. Again, it was another kind of really like I don't know, the in for my personal life, like it felt like the air was thick with, that like moment before things explode and things change completely. And I could feel it before I went on this trip. And I just got the underpainting done, which usually you do in like one kind of color that you want to kind of come through. It's just like the outline of the painting basically in one color, like a monotone kind of outline. And yeah, did this big circular portal in a forest. And then when I got back from this trip, I just spent the next few months just like in increments, just working on this big oil painting. Um, and it wasn't for anything specific. It was truly, it was like an urge that I needed to get out of my system. I had to do it. It's not even finished, this painting. It's like rolled up in storage at the minute. But yeah, it was a it was purely because I felt like I needed to do it. And of course, how many months later I'm looking back and it's like, yes, I was stepping through a portal at that moment. Everything changed on its head from that moment, in my life, personal life. So yeah, take what you will from it.
I mean, to me, there's a striking connection between, breaking free from previous pattern of miniatures, stepping out into a bigger space, doing something you hadn't done previously that you've always wanted to do, but didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
And you lay the foundation by taking action. And then that momentum carries you into this trip where, in fact, you have recognized in advance something that you were telling yourself maybe subconsciously you were ready for there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it kind of feels like has happened here in what you've just described.
I think you described it perfectly.
Yeah. And then boom, the universe is like basically saying, well done, very good, here you go.
Yeah.
And thank you for participating in the prearranged agreement that many of us have forgotten through time.
Yeah, pretty much.
And all I want to do is have everybody participating in this agreement. But so many of you have forgotten. I just love the idea that the universe is this old cranky person. Like, why has everybody forgotten the agreement I have with them? But so, there's this great book, The War of Art, and by Stephen Pressfield, and he talks about breaking through creative blocks. And it is part of it, and it's not a new idea, but it's that kinetic energy of start something. And once you start it, the universe will reward you. And
absolutely.
So fundamentally, that's kind of like what that story rings true to me. And we're going to take one more final break.
Sure.
When we come back, we got to talk about the Transmutation deck. And maybe we'll show a card from that. And maybe we'll just do a random card pull if you're up for it.
Why
and
not?
We'll just see what it tells us. And then maybe we can get into the art. Because the artwork's astounding. And, we're going to plug, obviously, where people can go find your artwork and all that kind of stuff as well. But we're going to be right back with Nikoo, talking more and more about, maybe portals, transmutation, the metaphysical, the universe, rewarding us for doing the woo. We're going to be right back.
Good things come in fours, like ukulele strings, boy band members, and PayPal Pay in 4. No fees, no interest, no impact on your credit score. Just the flexibility to pay the way that works for you. Strum it, hum it, pay it in 4. Download the PayPal app to get started. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payin4. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
So you're saying with Hilton Honors, I can use points for a free night stay anywhere?
Anywhere.
What about fancy places like the Canopy in Paris?
Yeah, Hilton Honors, baby.
Or relaxing sanctuaries like the Conrad in Tulum?
Hilton Honors, baby.
Ooh, what about the 5-star Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives?
Are you gonna do this for all 9,000 properties?
When you want points that can take you anywhere, anytime, it matters where you stay. Hilton, for the stay. Book your spring break now.
Okay, we're back. And now I get really, juiced up about like this kind of stuff. Like when the universe is like, because, we all make our deals or we all have our conversations, I suppose. And I remember years ago, I was like, you just put the stones out and I'll walk on them, even if they're not where I thought I should have been going with my creativity or this
Mm-hmm.
or the field or whatever else.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we get really surprised when we make a deal like that. But the deck that you did, the Transmutation Oracle deck, I think I got the name correct on that, right?
Yes.
Now this is a collaboration. You did all the artwork for it. I went blurry again, but that's fine. And this was in conjunction with or through PRS. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
PRS reached out to make a deck. It was their first deck that they released in 100 years since Manly P. Hall released his with J. Augustus Knapp. They did a tarot card, but yeah, so they reached out to see if I'd be interested in making a deck with them,
That's
which I
really,
was
really
obviously,
cool.
yeah,
I
doing
mean,
backflips, absolutely.
yeah, I mean, Manly P. Hall, I mean, just even sitting in the chairs at PRS, the two
Yeah.
chairs they have in the back of the room in the auditorium where the chairs he used to sit in when he gave his lectures. Like, I won't be able to sleep for like till 5 a.m. every time I've sat in one of those chairs.
I'm being serious. I haven't.
Yeah.
I've not had the privilege of going to PRS yet, but I will be there in May. This May, I'm going to be doing a event there. So come on down if you're
Yeah,
around.
and if
But yeah, no,
anybody
I'm
is
gonna go and sit in
anywhere
those chairs.
close to Los Angeles, you got to do that. You won't regret it. Do you have a specific date on that?
Yeah, it's the 3rd of May. I'll be there. Yeah.
The 3rd of May. And
Yeah.
I believe that's a Saturday night?
Sunday, I think.
Sunday
Yeah,
night.
it's a
Sunday
Sunday.
night.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it is on the weekend, at the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
Let me just wipe the camera lens here real quick, see if that works. But I'm curious about like when it comes to the deck. They reach out and they say, "Hey, we're doing our first tarot since Manly, 100 years ago. No pressure."
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. If you think I wasn't freaking out, then you'd be mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that some people might not be aware of when it comes to like in the artistic world
Yeah.
is the excitement that comes with a big opportunity and also the absolute freak out that is
Oh,
associated
yeah.
with it.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to say that the excitement lasts 10 minutes. And then the abject horror. Listen, I'm just trying to be honest here. Like,
Yeah, no, I love the honesty. I mean, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm propelled by fear often, but it's not in total doom and gloom way, like, but that kind of like is actually what pushes you forward a lot of the time. So it's not all bad, but yeah, no, I'd be lying if I said that I was cool as a cucumber when I got that email.
It's
Sure,
really
no
funny though.
problem.
I mean, it is one of those things. I remember the first time I ever got to be on set for a television show. I had some friends there, luckily. But I mean, I could barely breathe.
Yeah.
Like right before they said action, I was like, I can't breathe. I can't remember anything. This is awesome. This is incredible. But also like, oh, wow, this is it? Like,
Yeah.
this isn't, it's like, it's also one of those things where the realism of something that you've built up in your mind for so long is
Yeah.
so grand.
Sure.
Then as soon as the word action hits, it's like, well, we just have to do the work here.
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
kind of like, I mean, hopefully you kind of just like
yeah.
shove into this like automatic kind of state of just being present, I guess. Like you hope that you can stay present and not focus on, I don't know, if you're like doing something in public, the muscles in your face, which is often something I think my mind gets stuck on if I'm doing like public speaking. Sometimes it's like, is my face doing the right thing? No.
I've never thought about my face doing the right thing. That is funny.
Yeah,
though.
I think about it a lot. Yeah.
I wonder, like, so how long was this process of creating because it's a 25 card deck?
Yes, it's a 25 card deck. And originally they had offered if whether I wanted to do a tarot deck or a oracle deck, but ultimately because of the time constraints, it was about 3 months that I had to complete it. And compounding that, just as I got that job, I was living in London. Just as I got the job, maybe 2 days later, me and my ex like decided we are going to move to Rome, which
Oh,
wasn't my
wow.
it wasn't my idea or plan, but I was very much in a place where I wanted to get out of London. I'd been there for a while, and I was like, I guess yes, but it was a there was a deadline. Had to be there by September, and I got this job. Like, it literally, it kind of, these two huge life changes were happening in parallel to each other, and kind of like concluded around the same time too. So I was in full deadline mode, working morning till night for the majority of that time, and then I'd made you know, I, I had like a week and a half or 2 weeks to pack all my stuff up and get everything like, shipped off to Italy and kind of say goodbye, which I feel like I didn't even say goodbye to London properly, which, I feel upset about. But at the same time, it was just this unbelievable time where all this magic was like, taking place. I mean, for me, again, it was such a privilege to be doing that work. I was, it's a dream job, honestly. Like, I loved the process of it ultimately when it came down to, of course, the stress of deadlines, is looming. But what got me through, like I was saying before, was I had my daily morning walks. And on those walks, and it's again coming back to that thing of trusting and having some kind of dialogue with the divine, or the, whatever you want to call it, like, what's beyond us. Having that dialogue opens up doors. Like, it's just the magic of just asking or just knocking is something that people don't realize. It's like, and it's a private thing, if you've never kind of been one to talk to spirit or pray or whatever, it's a completely private thing. You don't have to talk about it with anybody. But, I can't stress enough the power of doing that, because yeah, as I was saying, I was terrified at the beginning. I was like, is that enough time for me to be able to do my job properly? Because the way that I work, and like I mentioned before, I did all these like miniature paintings, and of course the cards, I kind of painted them to size. Should probably get them, shouldn't I?
Oh, yeah. Let's um
This is why I'm
a
telling you about
metaphysical
it.
guide to navigating reality, by the way, is the description here. And I mean, what a cool project. And these are available for people, right?
Yes, you can get them through the PRS website. Yeah, I mean, I can send you the link so it's an easier to get to. But if you're on my website too, there's links to get to it. But yeah, it's all through PRS. Yeah, and I mean, what I was saying before was the thing that got me through both the project and also what kind of revealed things in the process of making was just talking to spirit, whatever you want to call it. There was a point, like, I remember feeling like the thing that I kept wanting to ask is like, am I going to be able to do this? Is it going to be okay? Like, so basic. Like, I know it's I mean, I'm really revealing the anxiety spiral, but like it was so it actually became really part of the process. And once that fear was kind of out of the way, which it wasn't looming the whole time, but it definitely had an effect on the way that I approached it. And the thing that got me through was to go on my walks and keep asking, like, am I going to be okay? Can I do this? Am I able to do this? And I'll tell you what, that the strangest synchronicities were unfolding in a way that never, and I'm noticing these things all the time. And, because I engage with the world the way that I do, I think I'll notice them more, and also I think it'll happen more. I think the more you engage, the more these synchronicities and things happen. But I'm going to say it was one of the most unique and strange things that was happening. Like, I'll give you the one example that really sticks out was when I would walk in the mornings, and I'd have that kind of morning of like, oh God, am I going to be okay? Like, can I finish this? Can I do a good job? Because I wanted to do a good job, right? You don't just get offered to do a deck with PRS and just throw something together for them. I wanted it to be good. So I would go and I'd ask, like, can I do this? And what was happening for me, and especially in the days when I was kind of feeling a little, because it wasn't consistent, but every once in a while I'll be like, oh wow, I got a lot to do. Like, can I do this? And inevitably, somewhere on my walk, right in the middle of my path, there would be either a jay feather or a magpie feather. Now, I am personally kind of quite like a magpie. I'm always looking for little things on the ground. And it's like, this is before it got wooey and whatnot. Like, I notice things on the ground. It's weird, but scavenger energy.
Well, you never know when you're going to find a treasure.
You never know when you're going to find a treasure, truly. And oh my God. And it wasn't like this was the only time I look. Like I am constantly noticing, like my eyes are darting everywhere always. But what was happening is, I think by the end of it, I collected maybe, I'm gonna say, because jays are not that, like, this was in London. Jays and magpies are in London. You can find them, but finding their feathers is quite rare. Like, and I was getting, for the jays, I was getting like so they're in the UK anyway. I'm sure there's all sorts of different types of jays, but these, like a Eurasian jay is like mostly brown. Very distinctive feature, but it's kind of like it has this tiny little strip of blue on its body somewhere, just like it's under the wing or part of the wing. Yeah. It's just a little strip. And I was finding again and again and again, and never again since, by the way. This was in 2023. Again and again, I was finding these jay feathers that had the tiny little bit of blue in them. So it wasn't even just any part of because I wouldn't have been able to identify it otherwise, because it had this tiny little bit of blue in them. And I think I found maybe 6 or 7 of those over 2.5 months. And then the wing feathers for magpies, just tons of them, just constantly. And very often they'd be in the middle of my path. Like it was I mean, I still, when I think about it, I can't help but smile, because it was every time I found it, like sometimes I would have I genuinely shed a tear of relief of just like, wow, someone is talking to me. Thank you for, and it would give me that resolve to go back home, sit at my desk and just smash it out, So like it's wild. I know maybe to some people finding feathers in your path sounds a bit silly, but because it was so specific, it was the little bit and again, they are not magpies. You see them a little bit more, but jays, like they're not super common. If you're lucky, you can spot one. But yeah, so sorry,
No, I mean,
I rambled
that's
about my
really,
feather
really cool.
story.
Well, I mean, it's like, to me, it's indicative of what we talked about at the very beginning, being open to this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sure, we assign meaning to everything in our life. That's what being a human being with a cognitive brain
Yeah.
does. I mean, without meaning, I mean, people can be like, meaning. It's like, well, yeah, you are also assigning meaning by dismissing it.
Yeah.
You're assigning dismissiveness, like meaning, like, anyway. But you touched on something that I think is super important too, when it comes to like the creative nature of the universe and leaning into the woo and just having a more fulfilling and more fun life. Is, we talked earlier about you can't, you gotta stop caring, right? But what you described is the other side of that coin, where for it to be meaningful, you must care deeply.
Yes.
In a different way.
Yeah.
And for me, people would always ask me like, oh, do you still get nervous, before shows? And I'd be like, yeah, I still do. And they'd be like, oh, wow. And I'd be like, yeah, I mean, isn't that great? I still
Yeah.
care. I
Yeah.
still care about wanting to
Absolutely.
do a good job. And to me, like, not caring and simultaneously caring the most is, it might sound like a paradox, but it's
Yeah.
the life of the artist.
Yeah.
Who's
Absolutely.
doing, yeah,
It's a real fine line,
it
right?
really
Like
is, isn't it?
yeah, like how do you get across to people? Yeah, don't care about what other people think and really let go, but also don't completely just get lost in a soup of nothingness, because then you're not getting nothing done, You need
Yeah.
to have like a little bit of direction. You need to have a little bit of a nudge into a specific direction. But yeah, so it's a delicate dance.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a fun dance to do.
Yeah.
Let me see if I do this. Oh no, it'll be fine. Okay,
Let me
so
try
let's
and
see
get
what
in
the card
focus.
says.
Let's
Let's see
see
what a
what the cards
card
say. What we're
happened to
going to pull
say.
for today. Okay.
Now, again, this is from the Transmutation Oracle Deck, a metaphysical guide to navigating reality. You can get it on prs.org. It's in the store there. I'd go to the store. The hyperlink's pretty long. I've already got it brought up. But you can also go to nikoobafti.com, and I think it's /oracle-deck if you're just kind of typing as you listen right now. But there will be links in the description of the episode. Oh, what do we get?
I feel like it's apt for what we're
Okay,
talking
this is
about.
awesome. Look how cool
We
this
got
is.
the
Oh, wow,
All
look
is
at that.
Mind card. I don't know if you
All,
can see, it's a bit shiny. All is Mind.
yeah, I can see
So
that.
that's like an old bent up kind of fork that's been all kind of twisted up
Oh,
by
nice.
what you
That's
can
a,
assume
oh, okay.
was not physical means. Yeah, like a big old twisty fork. It's kind of hard to see with the what's it called? The shine on the card, but hopefully
Like
your
the
audience can
finish.
see a little bit of
Yeah,
the finish. Yeah.
it's really, really cool though. And I think also
Thank
to
you.
me, immediately it's a nice homage to the spoon bending,
Yes.
through, psychokinesis and
Yeah.
things like that. And
Yeah.
Laura Hayes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The astrologer who wrote
Yeah.
essays in conjunction with, did you collaborate on like the book as well that comes with the deck?
Yeah, well, she did all the writing, but we did sit down together. I mean, she's a very dear friend of mine, and just a brilliant mind. And yeah, we just we sat down together and kind of talked about what, the concepts that we really wanted to condense what we had both learned over the past, I don't know, I think it was the 3 years since that kind of moving inwards that I think everybody experienced, but the two of us had definitely experienced it quite a bit. And because she's somebody who I talk to about these concepts very freely and has been for years, I felt very comfortable coming to her and kind of being like, okay, let's sit down. What is the essence when you're approaching reality and the concept of reality in this way that, like I said, that, there's this unified field, everything's tied together, and that our consciousness impacts reality, and that there's a certain set of systems and things that are true for us as humans that come up again and again in spiritual practices and other places. How can we take all of that information, condense it down into something that's practical? So, and yeah, I couldn't think of a better person to collaborate with to do that, because she got to the heart of every single concept that we talked about, and I think she did a brilliant job. But yeah, so the all is mind is literally mind over matter. It's like, where are you stuck in your kind of materialist view of the world, and are you just kind of, like, are you kind of maybe limiting yourself and what's happening and whatnot because you have these ideas that certain thing can't happen, and we're not just talking about, the on the nose psychokinesis, which fully is real. um yeah, it's kind of beyond that. It's like in your life, in whatever, like what keeps coming up that you think is outside of yourself, when actually maybe it could be that you're somehow through your, the electrical waves or whatnot that we kind of emanate, the EMF or whatnot. Like I say, I don't know what's happening exactly, but I think there's enough to kind of, point to these things, being quite real. So what are you putting out there that might be kind of solidifying things in your reality? That's kind of the vibe. And also just a lovely reminder that, yeah, things are very malleable.
Yeah,
It's true.
indeed. I mean, the perfect card for this conversation,
Yeah.
one might argue. I mean, it is really cool, like when an oracle deck just hits a home run.
Yeah. I was happy
And
though. I got that one.
yeah, that was a really cool card. I mean, because
Yeah.
it is really just this idea of leaning into it, understanding that it is a potential reality.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you know, and for people like us, even the true believers of this kind of metaphysical woo-woo stuff that is considered that to be, or considered that anyway by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, we get sucked back into the mud of materialism quite
Absolutely.
often, and we
Absolutely.
got to extricate ourselves from it. But and synchronicities to me are great reminders, great little hand lifting us out of that materialistic mud every once in a while and being like, hey, it's
Completely
okay. You got a
agree.
little dirty, but that's what
Yeah.
life is for. To get a little
Yeah.
muddy sometimes.
Cosmic breadcrumbs, somebody said to
Yes,
me.
indeed.
Yeah.
Well,
Enjoy
Nikoo, this
that.
has been awesome.
It's been a
Um,
pleasure.
and so let's remind people once more at PRS doing a live presentation, doing a talk
Mm-hmm.
on
On the 3rd of May.
the 3rd of May,
Yeah.
and which should be just like any day now from when this comes out.
Yeah.
So make sure you get your tickets and and get on the website, make those tickets, and go there. See, it's a beautiful place. It'll be a beautiful talk. I mean, it's just really, really fun stuff. Really beautiful artwork. You can go to nikoobafti.com, which I'll even spell that out for you. It's Nikoo. I'm making sure I got the. Wait, I'm on all over PRS right now. Bafti. Where did I do with your website here? And
.com. That's
it's
it.
.com.
Yeah.
So the deck is at the the / Oracle Dash deck. You also got a link tree where people can go. I'll link that as well. You got the print shop there. It looks like you've got a link to the Oracle deck, Psychic Garden, which I believe your friend is the editor of, the astrologer who worked on the book.
Yeah.
Available paintings, website, and also a mailing list. Link to the Instagram as well, which is Instagram.com. It's just at Nikoo Bafti. So you can give a follow and see some artwork there as well.
Come
Anything
find
else
me.
we need to mention or put out there?
Not really. Just that I'd love to. I'm happy I'm here in the States at the minute. I'm gonna be here for a few months. Oh, I'm gonna be at the Haunted America conference coming up at the end of June with the lovely Matthew Jackson. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. Yeah, no, come see me in LA. I'd love to meet you all and come have a chat, basically.
Awesome. Nikoo, this was great. And
So good to talk to you,
yeah, so
Ryan.
good.
Thank
The
you for
first
having
chat
me.
of and hopefully many more. And I'm sure I'll have a camera that doesn't go blurry the whole time. I'm in the
Hey,
liminal space right now,
yeah, you're in the liminal
visually.
space. It's emanating your lovely softness, soft in a
Oh,
good
I
way,
appreciate
Nana.
that. I
Yes,
appreciate
yeah.
that. Well, this talk this talk went hard. As the kids would say. This talk was great. So thanks again for sharing your insights in your personal journey and all that good stuff. And just a reminder that for everybody listening that, I'm sure I'll be out there this summer somewhere as well. So, you can find me at the website, ryansingercomedy.com. Well, all things. Oh, and Fitz, the documentary, it's on one streamer right now, and it'll be on other documentaries. This is Friends in the Sky, the investigation at Mutilation Ranch. As of 2 days ago, it is now, as of this recording, it is now streaming for you to watch in its entirety. And so hopefully we'll have updates about more places that it is streaming in the near future. Right now, it's on an app called Relay. So yeah, you can find it there, and that'd be much appreciated. See the story of Greg and Mama Sue, R.I.P. Mama Sue. And until next time, it's more fun to believe in this stuff. We all know that, and it's always great to have late nights out here on the astral plane. Once again, Nikoo, thanks for joining us, and until the next voyage, it's just never too late out here. Remember that.
Thank you, Ryan.
Now receiving frequency transmission.
So if you take tarot the way that pop culture portrays it, which is that the cards themselves have some kind of hidden power to predict your future. The jury is very much out. However, if I were to do my own tarot and have such a connection with my own subconscious that when I see these symbols, I could apply any meaning to it. And I basically use it as a way to explore my unconscious and subconscious mind. There's a lot of things that you don't know that are buried deep inside of you through things like meditation and therapy and all of that. You get these epiphanies that bring it out. And I think that symbols are another method to do that, these kinds of internal excavations. And so it actually doesn't require a belief in the supernatural, although it totally helps.
Transmission complete. Stay tuned to Spectrovision Radio. Stay.